Let's get sweaty.
Hello and welcome to the Shenmue Dojo Show Christmas special for Radio Sega's Winterfest 2022. Merry Christmas, Matt. How's it going, man? You feeling festive?
Merry Christmas, James. Do you know what? I am. I've got a Christmas jumper set ready for our stream in the not too distant future. I'm looking forward to Christmas. Lots of games are coming my way, hopefully. Yourself?
Yeah, well, I haven't really... We've got the tree up and all the... I think my wife's wrapping presents as we speak. But other than that, I suppose, yeah, feeling Christmassy. Be nice to have a bit of snowfall. We did have a little bit earlier, actually, but once it starts properly looking, like Shenmue snow, maybe then we'd feel a bit more Christmassy. Can you believe this is like the third Christmas show we've done now? That's insane in itself, isn't it?
It's scary how quickly it's gone as well, isn't it? When you think when we did Winterfest those years ago, and it was almost like a trial show, and we sort of felt our way through it, and now we're into Winterfest 3.
3, yeah. It feels like we've only just started, really. I feel like still, even though we have got a wealth of shows under our belt now. But
mad,
it is mad, man. How are you getting on with Sonic Frontiers? I think you finished it.
I have finished it. I finished it. Must be about a fortnight ago. I literally it didn't leave my PlayStation actually from the moment I got it to the moment I finished it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, it does. It have its issues? Of course it does. There's some things that need improvement, but I absolutely adored it. Loved it. Played it to death. The soundtrack is fantastic. Storytelling is really, really good. From what I've seen and where the ending is, I don't know if you finished it or not, James, but
haven't quite, no.
I'd be very surprised if this didn't get a direct sequel.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm very, very close. I'm on the very last island.
Yeah,
I was trying to pump it out so we could go a bit spoiler mode, but I haven't actually finished it, so we're
leave
able
it
to do that. We'll leave that for now. Maybe next year.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, man. It was. I'd probably say it's 10 times better than I expected it to be in terms of what we saw originally.
Yeah.
And after you get around, I'd say the third island, you really, really get a feel for the game. You're running around super smooth. You can judge Sonic's jumping distance and everything, so you can just link together chains of like amazing grinding to like hoops and stuff. I'm finding myself having a lot of fun just getting those heart tokens or whatever the memory tokens are for the particular map, because I've been going proper completionist mode, and I'm like over 40 hours actually. It's turned into a bit of an Assassin's Creed type game for me, which I wasn't expecting, but yeah, it's awesome. There's some pretty cool mini games in there as well. How did you get on that pinball mini game?
Do you know what? I found that quite all right. Maybe it's just me and Sonic Spinball rather from back in the day. It felt quite good. And actually, if people remember back on the Dreamcast in Sonic Adventure, you had a little pinball mini game, so it's not too unfamiliar.
I have found that there seems to have been a few throwbacks to the adventure games.
Yeah.
I believe it was Stage 4-1 is literally a recreation of Metal Harbor, I thought, from Sonic Adventure 2, but like in the cyberspace. It felt like it. When you climb the rocket tower as well.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of stuff like that going on, and then you come down the skateboard on the little path. Really cool how they've done inspired levels like that. And there was also a little Ikaruga mini game, if you know that game. The shooting game where you change the bullets to light and dark. So that was unexpected as well.
I like that. Like I say, I think they did a really good job with it, and it's set a foundation for either a direct sequel. I know people are clamoring for a proper Adventure 3.
Yeah.
But this isn't far off. It really isn't.
No, I agree. I'd like to see what they're going to do in the future. Maybe they will turn this into an Adventure 3 style game now. I don't know.
Possibly.
This kind of style. I have to wait and see. Well, other than that, Matt, yeah, God of War, Callisto. What did you think of Callisto?
I'm still playing it. I quite like it. Yes, it feels a little clunky in sort of multi-enemy combat. I can get the reviews about that, but I quite like it. I mean, it's a standard 7 out of 10. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely not the trash that some people are labelling it to be. It does have it is hard, but you just got to persevere with it. I mean, for Christ's sake, I finished Returnal, so I'm not too bothered about a difficulty level, because that game was ridiculously hard.
Yeah, I struggled with that myself. I'd need to get back to that. There's plenty on my list to get through. Callisto is one that I'm interested in. Perhaps for Christmas, if you got any ideas about what you might be getting for Christmas?
I do. I'm getting Bayonetta 3. That's definitely coming.
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
getting Ghostwire Tokyo as well.
Yes, nice man.
That's coming for Christmas. And I'm getting Splatoon as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to have a bit of a backlog come Christmas Day.
Nice that you're getting Ghostwire. I'd be interested to find out your thoughts on that. It's probably still my game of the year. I don't know if it actually did come out this year, but from what I've played this year,
is it early or early this year? I can't remember.
It didn't make the game of the year show, so I don't know. I think it passed a lot of people by, actually, for some reason.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm quite interested to get into it and see what it's all about.
Yeah, looking forward to that, man. Okay, so corrections first. Last episode, when we were doing the Yakuza Shenmue show, I said that Marlon Brando was voiced in the first Yakuza game. Kind of made a mistake there. It was Michael Madsen.
Okay.
I've got a bit of a reason why I messed up, but basically because in Michael Jackson's music video for You'll Rock My World, one of the main characters is this Michael Madsen guy, and he's hanging around the bar, he's like looking at Michael Jackson and stuff. And when we were talking in that episode, I could picture that guy in the studio recording the VO for Yakuza. So I Googled You Rock My World Michael Jackson while we were talking about it. And the first name that popped up was Marlon Brando. And I just assumed, okay, that must be the guy, that mobster sort of guy. So that's why I said that. But actually, it was he must have been it as well, actually, Marlon Brando. But in terms of Yakuza VO, it was Michael Madsen. So I thought I'd mention that just in case everyone believes me like 100% gospel and they go around telling everyone this fact that Marlon Brando was in Yakuza.
It's that time of year again. Time for Radio Sega's Winterfest. Join the community over the weekend for live shows, giveaways, the best Sega music, and a whole load of fun. For our full programming schedule, check out radiosega.net.
So news-wise, Matt, we're going to start with something quite special for us. Put it off for quite a while, but we've decided to give it a go. We've set up a Shenmue Dojo Discord, Matt. So have you got any details that can go with that?
Yeah, the link will be in the YouTube description for this show anyway. And I put out a video just sort of giving people a quick tour of it at the time. So if you're not familiar with Discord and how it works, then have a quick look at that video. It's only a 5-minute job. Essentially, what we've done is it's more of a casual Shenmue chat area, forum, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I think it's taken off quite nicely. It's people are chatting in there pretty much daily at the moment. It's really chilled out, nice vibe in there. For our Twitch subscribers, if you're listening or whatever, you will have access to a private area, which is linked to the Twitch subscription service. So if you sub to that, look in there, because we'll run exclusive competitions and bits and pieces as well. It's still a project in its infancy, the Discord. I'm learning as I go with it and picking things up and looking at how to improve things as we go forward. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. The forums actually, one of the worries we had that it might take traffic away from the forums. I think actually it probably hasn't at the moment. The acid test will be if there's a big announcement. But for now, I think it's quite a nice balance. And one thing I did notice is a lot of forum lurkers are active in the Discord, which is really cool.
That's cool.
Good to see those people who maybe, for whatever reason, don't post on the forums, but have the confidence to, or whatever to post in the Discord. And it's great to engage these people that probably haven't engaged with us as much as maybe they'd have liked to. So it's just another arm for the community to reach out to each other, talk to each other, and just enjoy Shenmue.
Get to know each other a bit more and yeah, still use the forums. One of the things I would like to do is like push some forum topics within the Discord as well, so that we can kind of bridge both elements, have this sort of civilized, where you can post like an essay length post if you want to, topic on the forums, or just have a bit of a chit chat on the Discord, best of both worlds. So next up, Air Twister has another event. Every time I mention Air Twister, I feel like I'm outdated between shows because they're just pumping out these updates every month or so, it seems like. But they've got one that's available until the 23rd of December. I believe we're releasing this show around the 20th, 22nd, somewhere like that. So You've got a couple of days at least to get on there and play it, try and get all the costumes. There's a brand new one-hit mode where if you complete the whole game without getting hit, which is insane. I don't think anyone's going to do that, but if you do that, Yu Suzuki has a special handwritten kanji that pops up on the screen. I don't know if that's interesting to you. You want to see it? But yeah, download the game and complete it without getting hit. And then I'm expecting probably another event after this date, maybe like a quick Christmas or New Year's event, perhaps. I can already see Princess Arch in a bit of a Santa outfit, to be honest, so watch the space on that. And the final piece of news, Max, we're not going to go too much into news because we've got a lot to get through today, but we've got a little update on Shenmue the Animation Season 2. Not a very good update, but it is all the same an update to people interested, which was via a quick Q&A tweet thing that Jason DeMarco did. Matt, have you got the details for that?
Yeah, I mean, he does these quite frequently, actually, and people do keep hounding him about the Shenmue the Anime Season 2. Paddy dropped him a message just to say, what's the likelihood of Shenmue the Anime Season 2? And he said it's pretty slim at this point. I then chimed in and says, is there anything the community can do? And he basically said, not unless we can invent a time machine and prevent the merger. So, I mean, that's as clear an indication as you like that the merger's buggered Season 2 for everybody for whatever reason. Money, I don't know. But either way, it's not happening at the moment. It's not to say it won't happen down the line and we keep making the noise it may well do, but at the moment it's not looking likely, unfortunately.
Which is a shame, but yeah, we keep trying, don't we?
We do.
See what happens in the future. You never know. With Shenmue, stranger things have happened, so there's always a hope. So before we get into the show, almost forgot to mention this actually, but we've got 3 Shenmue pins to give away to our Radio Sega listeners. So if you're listening to us live on Radio Sega, the first 3 people in, I'm assuming like the Radio Sega Discord channel there, that are listening to us right now, if you comment the surname to Nozomi, what's her surname, if you want to type that in the chat right now, and the first 3 people that do so, I will get your details and send you a Shenmue pin from Sega Shop UK or Europe, which is where those were available. So a bit of a giveaway going on for our Radio Sega listeners. But yeah, so let's get into the Christmas spirit now with a fantastic recreation of the Dobuita Street Christmas jingle that you can hear around and outside Takara Sushi. And this is a piece of music created by Richard Cartledge. Welcome back. That was a piece of music from Richard Cartledge. Really cool little Christmas jingle he's made there. Probably the only time someone's actually acknowledged that piece of music actually is, as its own piece of music. Because I'm sure there can't be too many separate audio uploads anywhere for that. In the soundtracks for Shenmue, that's never been a thing. So it's pretty cool to actually hear that as a separate piece. I believe actually it isn't part of the music as well in the game. It's like I think it's part of the sound effects line.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, because it's not in any of the tracks in the files, is it? You have to sort of dig around for it.
There's more of a sound effect, like as Rio gets closer, it gets louder and further away. So yeah, pretty cool, Richard. Nice one. for sorting that out.
Get festive with 4 straight days of snow, shows, and Sega. This is Radio Sega's Winterfest.
So, Matt, when you think of Christmas time for Shenmue, what do you instantly think of? Why, Shenmue Online, of course, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today with a deep dive in this very episode. So, Shenmue Online, it feels like something that perhaps only fans talked about for a couple of years around that time before everything went away with it. So, really now in 2022, nearly 2023, it feels like there isn't actually very much information about the game at all, which is, it's crazy considering it did actually get a beta test period in Korea and China, I think. So it means that people have actually played a form of the game. And I think you were looking at screenshots earlier where people are actually playing it in some of the events that went on as well. So it's strange that we haven't really got too much information on it still, even after all that. But obviously, if it was happening these days, there'd probably be like loads of YouTube videos, people playing it, for screenshots, etc. But we've actually only got a few videos released that were like around the sort of the time of the game existing somehow, that went to promote the game, which include like incredible CG trailers that we're going to watch a little bit later in the show and react to, and also some gameplay videos too. If you go on our Vault channel that we're still working on, but we've got all the videos there, like press conferences, Tokyo Game Show, China Joy Show. So there is some information out there, just very little of it. But we're going to try and go through a timeline of events, take you back to this very strange period of time for Shenmue fans. Everyone was kind of waiting for Shenmue 3 and a continuation of the Shenmue story, but we ended up getting, we didn't get, but we were getting an unexpected online game where I think you played as like your own player-created character. So like it sort of left Ryo Hazuki as more of like a minor side character, or an NPC, whatever the intention was there with him, which is interesting. So let's get into the Shenmue Online timeline of events, Matt.
Let's do it.
That music was from the Shenmue Online OST, which you can actually download, and has 77 pieces of music in. We'll link that somewhere in the show notes. Some of these pieces actually appeared in Shenmue 3.
A lot of them did.
Yeah, and there's some we've still yet to hear, actually. But like you say, Matt, a lot of them were used in Shenmue 3, which must be, these songs must have been part of the big repository that Yu Suzuki's got.
Mad, isn't it? I mean, we were talking, I think, yesterday, because I was listening through the music for the song choices for the show, and I must have reeled off within a few minutes, about 5 or 6 straight out of Shenmue 3 within seconds of listening to it, and there's probably more. It's mad, isn't it?
Definitely, it's more, yeah. So it just goes to show, like, what I'm hoping they've got more than these 77 pieces, though, like, because we've heard 60% of the music or whatever hasn't been used, so they must have more. But yeah, interesting that they picked these pieces. I suppose maybe these were like the more complete and well-rounded pieces that just seem to fit for the parts of the game that they intended them for. But that piece of music I've just played felt a little bit Yakuza vibes to me. It's got that sort of gritty, bassy, it does sound very Yakuza-y, and actually some of the character art looks a little bit Yakuza as well, actually. If you're watching the YouTube counterpart, Matt can maybe throw up an image of some of these Yakuza-looking people.
Yeah, on the main posters, the guy with a big tattoo on his back, isn't there? He looks like
Yeah,
Kiryu,
it looks
doesn't
like
he?
Kiryu, doesn't he? Yeah. So I don't know if that's got any relation to it, just something I noted, but Shenmue Online does slightly predate Yakuza because it was announced in 2004, and I think Yakuza was 2005, 2006-ish. So I'm not sure if they were using artwork there or it just happens to be a coincidence, but yeah, interesting. So the timeline begins in August 3rd, 2004. This is actually when the ShenmueOnline.com website opened. And we've got a couple of announcement articles that we're going to run through here. The first one being on oneup.com. So there must have been a rumour the day before. So they say, as rumoured yesterday, Sega today unveiled 3 online PC games to spearhead its entry into the Chinese market. Only one of them is entirely new, but it's a significant announcement to say the least. The rumoured Shenmue Online is real. So it looks like there was a few games they had planned, a CT Racer, which I've never heard of, and Fantasy Star Online Blue Burst, which obviously did get released, and I used to play back in the day, actually, which was really cool. Shenmue Online apparently is going to follow sometime in 2005, and closed beta testing is scheduled to begin this fall, followed by open beta testing in the first half of next year. So it must have been quite worked on to already have a beta build available.
Yeah, I mean, they would have had the assets from the original games to use.
To work off,
whether that would have sped things up, I don't know. With the greatest respect, I know we're going to talk about some of the screenshots, etc. as well. I do, because some of them take a bit of a downgrade in the way they look. So whether that meant they could speed things up in production, possibly, is another thought. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty quick turnaround, isn't it?
To me, the downgrade in graphics and stuff is just so it's more available to PC users, I guess, because although Shenmue was like on the Dreamcast, it was still, I would assume, like quite graphically pushing for the PC perhaps in those days. And MMOs and stuff like that were quite similar to the way these games look. So like I played quite a few Korean-based MMOs, like Night Online, I think was one of them, or Gate to Heavens, and they all kind of had this sort of graphical look about them. So I think it was just quite common. It just so happens that Shenmue, obviously, you expect it to be breathtaking visuals in those days, and it ended up being more of a previous generation looking sort of a game.
Yeah.
Might be a good way of describing it. So anyway, OneUp goes on to say that the newly opened official website, ShenmueOnline.com, depicts characters from the early games in the series and a pretty rendition of the Hong Kong skyline at night. Whilst the game's Korean website includes a few more details on the setting and gameplay, the game world encompasses areas set in Japan, Korea, China, and Hong Kong, which is interesting, allowing players to progress through different areas or settle on a locale that suits them. It will feature an action-orientated combat system, as well as an auto-scene system designed to mix more dramatic cinematic elements with gameplay in both small, comparatively insignificant scenes as well as more eventful ones. Sega also plans to include several minigames like those featured in the single-player Shenmue games, such as revivals of classic Yu Suzuki games. So again, I don't know. I guess it would have recreated Space Harrier and all those as well, which is interesting. I wonder what you would have earned from them playing those, or spending your money to play them, perhaps.
Possibly, or you might have earned like in-game currency, toys, capsules, tickets, maybe.
So it says Shenmue Online is developed by a Korean company, JC Entertainment, who was responsible for the online RPG Red Moon, again, another one I haven't heard of, and will be managed on the main line by Chinese online games company T2 Technology Holdings when it opens to the public sometime in 2005. And sources within Sega indicate that the staff of Yu Suzuki's Digital Rex studio have comparatively little involvement in the title's development, although Suzuki holds the project of executive director on the project. So that was another interesting point, because obviously this is the sort of era where I think Yu Suzuki was still working maybe part-time for Sega, but he had his own little studio called Digital Rex. I'm not sure if anything actually came out of Digital Rex.
No.
But it was an interesting time for Yu Suzuki, I suppose.
Yeah, and it begs the question how much involvement he had with it as executive director. I mean, you'd expect quite a bit, but...
It looked like quite a bit because he was in attendance in these shows that we're going to get to promoting the game. We've got a video of him showing concept artwork to, I don't know if they were staff members or people conducting an interview or something. So he had the artwork there, and it seemed like he had quite a lot of hands-on with it, but obviously Sega weren't physically creating it in-house. It was like these Korean companies that were probably more akin to working on these sort of MMORPGs. So their graphical interfaces, UI, and the way they go about creating their games is probably something that maybe Yu Suzuki wasn't used to. Just feeding them sort of ideas and stuff and letting them crack on with it. And potentially that could be the reason why it never saw the light of day. Perhaps it wasn't at the levels fit enough that Sega or Yu Suzuki was expecting.
Possibly, yeah.
Based on the gameplay and stuff that we'll see a little bit later. And finally, I've got a little bit on the actual budget here. So it says Sega's announcement characterizes its move into the Chinese online gaming market as an attempt to create a new pillar of growth in addition to its operations in Japan, Europe, and North America. I don't know, did they ever actually become a thing in China?
I don't know. I think they tried it, and I don't think it was particularly successful. They may have shut it down. I'd have to find out and do some research on that, because I don't know definitively.
Yeah, because it does say here, established a subsidiary based in Shanghai, Sega of China, with some 80 employees and 70 million yen in initial capital. And that's headed by Sega manager director Hideki Okamura and representatives from both the business development and R&D divisions of the company.
So, sort of following on very shortly after that, actually, I think it's on the same day, in fact.
It's on the same day, yeah.
There's an article from IGN, and they've said that the title's been in development since February of last year, so 2003, which is interesting because that's just before Shenmue 2 launched on Xbox in the UK, if my memory serves me correctly. So I do wonder how they obviously were working on this in parallel to the Xbox version of Shenmue 2, but obviously completely different studio, etc., doing it. And they said that it had a marketing and development budget of, is that 30 billion won? Am I making that right?
It could be, couldn't it? So is that a Korean currency? Because China is yuan, isn't it?
Yeah, either way, it's just short of 26 million US dollars.
Which is insane, isn't it?
Insane amount of money. I'll read the rest of it before I make my first point. The marketing budget is said to include costs of both Korea and overseas. Closed beta test is planned for November of this year, and with open trial expected to begin in the first half of 2005. Platform has not been revealed, but the Korean development background, we presume it will be a Windows release, and that does make sense with a lot of other MMOs at the time. The biggest reaction to this obviously was, why isn't this Shenmue 3? And I think that was reflected across the Shenmue community, and we'll talk about that more later. And the fact in my head that they spent nearly 26 million US dollars on this, it didn't get released, and they could have made Shenmue 3 from it and would have recouped some of the money. But there you go.
Absolutely insane, isn't it? But I do understand them trying.
I do. Yeah, I get it, because MMOs were big, they were starting to take off. And had it broke the market, I mean, it probably would have funded every Shenmue game for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they've worked on it since 2003, like you said, just after the Xbox release. So whether or not the Xbox release had any bearing on how confident they were in the Shenmue series moving on from that point, obviously they were still working on this, we'll get to it, up to 2006. So it's quite a few years of development with that kind of a budget. So it does beg the question, what happened to this game and what the plans were, and ultimately what were their expectations in generating income from this, because it doesn't seem like it was going to be released outside of Korea or China. So really, are those markets in those countries really significant enough for that type of a budget to...
They obviously thought so, didn't they?
Must have expected it, because they were, to be fair, MMOs were really, really big in those countries, and still are. You know, you hear about these Chinese gold farmers for World of Warcraft, where people have actually got it as their profession to sit in a room and play World of Warcraft all day, earning and selling money, you know, so they have got a big, big influence on those sort of markets. So It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if it was actually released. Perhaps the beta testing didn't go very well. I don't know. I don't think we've got an answer to why this got cancelled, which is why I'm a bit on the fence about what happened to you guys. But
Yeah, it was quietly cancelled, and we'll talk about some of the ramifications of that later, because there's some really good forum posts and articles that came out. But I'll park that for now. I won't spoil it.
yeah. So obviously this was announced on August the 3rd. We do have an announcement press conference video, which you can watch. I'll link it below as well. We're not going to watch it now, but there's some details from IGN that kind of take from what actually happened in that video. So Shenmue Online is a massively multiplayer action RPG. The game will feature virtual recreations of areas from 1980s Hong Kong and China, promise to allow tens of thousands of players to assume the role of militants using martial arts, Chinese weapons, and other powers in real-time fighting sequences. Fans of the series will be pleased to know that series father Yu Suzuki, now the head of Sega Internal Digital Rex, is taking the role in the game. Sega states that Suzuki will supervise ongoing activities for the game. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is very.
And then he's just reaffirming that there's a beta going on. Next, we get a interview actually from IGN, so this is going to be interesting. This happened on the 5th of September 2004, so what's that, just a month on from the announcement.
Yeah.
In the latest issue of Japan's Dorimaga, all-format video game publication, it includes some lengthy comments on Shenmue Online from the man most associated with the original offline Shenmue games, former AM2 head Yu Suzuki. These comments were apparently made as part of an early August launch presentation for the title and provide hints as to what we can expect from the game. So he says, I've been interested in massively multiplayer online gaming since the time of the Dreamcast version of Shenmue. If asked why Shenmue, he explains it's because with the plan that the original game would have a world larger than any other game and have more characters appear than in any other game, the series was meant for massively multiplayer online, apparently. Touching on the content we can expect to find in Shenmue Online, Suzuki continues, the game will have the community and level-raising elements of a standard massively multiplayer online title and will progress, centering on the battle system cultivated in Virtua Fighter and Shenmue. To that, we're adding fighting based on spirit power and weapons and plan on making it something that anyone can play. The game takes place throughout all of China, Suzuki continues, and has a story set in the beautiful rivers and mountains and in the historic cities of this country. Events, some from the Dreamcast version and meant for this title, will number over 300. Of course, we'll have updates which will make the world gradually grow. Enemies who don't appear in the conventional Shenmue will appear, so please look forward to this world. Then Suzuki reveals one very important additional hint about the title separate from his speech. He says, conventional Shenmue characters like Ryo Hazuki, Shuing Hong will appear as game masters, that is NPC, controlled by the computer. He clarifies, the relationship between those characters and the players themselves is a focus of this title. Dorimaga speculates that players will learn moves from Ryo and Shuing. Well, that's interesting. I reckon they would probably be like skill masters. I can picture that.
Yeah,
where you buy skills from. So why is this game coming out in all of places China? It turns out that China is growing fast in the online games market, and by 2008, the country is expected to surpass online games giant Korea as the number one market for online titles, becoming a market worth more than $1.5 billion. Sega's interest in getting a foothold on such a market should be expected. So that is interesting. So with it being released in Korea and China, they're hitting the two major hotspots there, aren't they?
Yeah, right. Okay, so now the logic here, despite what happened to it, I can see the logic. I can see what they're going for here, in that they want to tap into that market early, and this is early, this is 2004, and get a slice of that pie. So I can see where why they tried this, despite my own reservations and opinions, shall we say. I get the logic here.
Yeah, and it says those hoping for a release outside of China, like in Japan or America, may have to wait. IGN has received no comment on a stateside release, and looking at the Japanese end of things, the response Sega Japan gave to Dorimaga was, at this time we have no plans to release the game. So it looks like it was destined to be a release only in those countries, China and Korea, like you say, to attack those sort of markets. And I guess we would have found a way around that to play it, and I would have expected Shenmue fans to completely translate the game anyway. So
it's funny when you think about it's being released just in those two markets, right? Because when you look at the artwork and we've got a short video with some of the artwork being shown. I'll pull some images up on the screen for everybody to see. Some of the artwork that showed back in 2005, 6, 2004, 5, 6 rather, a lot of that got showed in the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter. So from a fan point of view, some of this is canon, right?
Yeah.
So would you have been annoyed not being able to access it through the normal channels, knowing what we know now, in that actually some of this, maybe a good chunk of it, was actually going to contribute to the wider Shenmue story and potentially spoil things a little bit?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like you say, the CG videos and stuff, it looks like it is where the story's heading. Even though I believe there is an interview somewhere where Yu Suzuki's denied that, but of course he's going to deny that, because if, like he said, oh no, that is the last scene in the Shenmue saga, the dragon and the phoenix attacking themselves in the sky, then what's the point in seeing what's going to come if you've seen the ending of the series there, in a sense? But it is interesting. I don't assume that the content in the game would have been canon in a sense, like you have to play the online game to follow the story. I still think if a Shenmue 3, 4, 5, etc., it wouldn't have relied on anything that happened in the online thing. But like you mentioned there, Matt, stuff that was happening is stuff that potentially we could be seeing in the future. He does comment a little bit later, we'll get to it, on the actual areas that you'll be able to find in the game, and one of them is Shuzu, another one's like Cheyenne Place, which are potential places in the future of the series. So if those were in this game as areas, I'm sure there would have been bits and pieces within them that he's already got plans for in the future of the series, definitely. Next, we're pushing forward into August the 4th, 2005, and you will notice a lot of stuff seems to happen on August for some reason. So the game was released August 3rd, 2004, and then a year on, August the 4th, we have a bit of an update, but actually there's some problems going on.
There are here, and this is the first sort of bump in the road, if you like, for this troubled title, shall we say. So, Japanese PC game site 4Gamer.net reports today that Sega and its various international development partners may have run into some trouble with the development of Shenmue Online. Citing various reports from Korea, the site reveals that as of May this year, JC Entertainment, the Korean developer that was making the game for Sega, had stopped work on the project. Sega of Japan confirmed this report directly to 4Gamer today, and also revealed that development is now being handled by Sega Shanghai Software. Unfortunately, 4Gamer was unable to get specifics as to reasons for the change. Now, there's rumours about that knocking around, varying from issues with the rights, which that's talked about in an article later, to the fact that they weren't happy with what JC Entertainment were doing with it and basically felt it was a reskinned version of another one of their games. They were like, no, this isn't good enough. Either way, they weren't dealing with it anymore. So I just sort of caveat that bit a little bit. What's particularly odd about the case is Sega actually had a playable version of Shenmue Online on display at last year's KMX 2004 Korean Game Festival. The company displayed the game in a large booth and held a few stage shows and allowed players to sample a beta version that was at the time being used as part of the closed beta for the game. Interesting. I'd be interested to see how that changed from 2004 to 2006 China Joy when we get there, but that's another point. Reporting for the KMAX show, 4Gamer revealed lots of details on the title, that Shenmue Online resembles offline Shenmue games quite closely. We sort of know that from the screenshots, taking place initially in Hong Kong, with plans in situ to take the story into China and eventually Korea and Japan.
Korea's interesting, isn't it? I don't know if that was just because they were releasing it in Korea that they thought, let's add, I think it was Seoul or something on one of the graphics.
I think that may have been just to sort of,
because I've never heard Korea being mentioned as like a potential country that Rio travels to. I think it's just, like you say, just for this game only.
It says here that the game is meant to provide a realistic digital representation of Asia. Like the offline games, Shenmue Online will feature lots of mini games like a casino, an arcade with playable games such as Afterburner, Space Harrier, and Outrun, very much like the original games. And there are screenshots out there which I will put up where you can see these games in various rooms or wherever you are. Gives a little bit on the fighting system here, that players fight using a combination of mouse and keyboard. To perform a combo, you simply tap the left button on the mouse repeatedly, so it's very much a player-friendly thing, I guess. Most characters can perform basic 3-hit combos, although the maximum number of hits rises as your character gains experience. You can guard against the incoming attack by pressing the mouse's right button. To use special attacks, you include magic, use the shortcut keys on the keyboard, and it's also used for executing sidestep moves, although this results in a drop of your character's stamina. Like, interesting stamina system.
Stamina system, yeah. And you have to eat, do you, to recover black garlic?
They've uploaded a movie and screen from 4Gamer for those who want to get a closer look at Shenmue Online. With development still progressing, a new development company, we expect to hear more from in the near future. And it was originally detailed to go live in Asia at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that fairly early on,
they've lost a company involved. Yeah,
something's happened here. Yeah, and it's and on the same day, actually, or the day after, rather, GameSpot basically regurgitate the same article, and they have a little bit of extra detail here, which I'll sort of jump in here. So apparently, Sega stopped checking on the development around March that year, and 2 months later, the project was dissolved. That Shenmue Online staff received a statement from Sega saying the project had been transferred to another unnamed development studio located in Taiwan. Obviously, we now know Sega Shanghai. One former employee of Shenmue Online confirmed to 4Gamer that JC Entertainment had not touched the project since the middle of the year, and it was cancelled in their company by May or June. Most of the staff that worked on the project is now working on JC Entertainment's online basketball game Freestyle, or off to other development teams, said the unidentified source.
Why would a game that's in progress with these not have touched the project? That seems strange.
And this is the issue: whether there was a falling out or
someone took over more of a hands-on and left them a little bit like empty-handed. Do you think?
Yeah, it seems weird. It's odd that they just pulled it. And then later on, as we find out again from GameSpot, there was queries of who has the rights of it, and that Sega and JC Entertainment were reportedly in talks for an out-of-court settlement around Shenmue Online. So read into that one what you will.
So that was August the 25th, so 20 days later.
Yeah.
Who's got the rights? So yeah, it seems like perhaps they had too many fingers in the pie again. You know how we get these situations. So it's who actually owns Shenmue? We've got that same kind of dilemma now, aren't we? You've got who actually owns it: Sega, Wisenet, Deep Silver, Cot Media, Shibuya Productions. Epic must have some sort of a share and whatever. It gets very complicated very, very easily. And it seems if there is a simple falling out between one of those companies, the rights are a massive factor. And that's beyond, everything else that happened in Shenmue, the Shenmue series with like Timex and, Case Logic and all these Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like little licensing things going on across the whole series. And it makes it very, very difficult to actually, one, re-release these games like we saw with Shenmue 1 and 2, where they had to make some subtle changes, and they did find it very hard to release it. Ultimately, they did, which turned out well. But then, your Shenmue 3 aspect, they can't use Sega capsule toys, they can't have Yu Suzuki's original bloody games that he made himself in the game. There's a lot of like rights and licensing things bloody all over the shop with Shenmue.
It is, and it's probably it doesn't help the franchise in any way, shape, or form when you consider the games, the anime, everything in between. I mean, in this case with Shenmue Online, and this is from the GameSpot article, it says for Sega, the break with JC Entertainment is more difficult than just cancelling an agreement with the usual subcontractor, because as it turns out, the developer actually owns half of the intellectual rights to Shenmue Online. Wow. Okay. So Sega couldn't just bin them off. And apparently the company planned on holding on to its share. So I can tell you now that was highly acrimonious by the sounds of it.
Yeah, must have been the first nail in the coffin for what was to ultimately happen. Probably these fallings out and these rights and trouble like that, they must have thought it wasn't worth.
The shit's hit the fan pretty quickly, hasn't it? And we're not even. Yeah, I'm looking at the notes you've made. And we're on page 1, just finishing page 1. The shit's already at the fan.
Yeah. So I did have a quick Google map of Sega of China, and it does say Sega Shanghai.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say was, it says is. So it must still be a thing. But the last thing they did, according to this wiki article, was porting older games to newer systems, such as the 2008 PlayStation 2 release of Nights into Dreams, or the contents of Dreamcast Collection. So, strange. I don't know if they're still doing stuff. It's not been reported since, or they just are sort of the in-house translators for
Could be
software
anything.
going to China, perhaps. I don't know.
Could be anything. I mean, I haven't heard of anything out of them for a long time, but it's not to say they don't still exist or not, I guess.
Yeah.
Enjoying the Winterfest? Why not keep listening to Radio Sega once it's over? There's plenty of live shows, and you can even request your favorite music from our playlist. You're listening to Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.
So moving on from that report that Matt just mentioned there, that was August the 25th, Who's Got the Rights in 2005. If you might have been worried about the series, we actually did get a nice video of Yu Suzuki talking about the game and showing it off at Tokyo Game Show in 2005. And this went on between the dates of September the 16th and 18th. And again, I'll drop the link in the show notes below if you want to watch the full press conference for that Tokyo Game Show. Really interesting, actually. It's when we first actually see some of the game taking shape. And we've got some translated comments from Switch there, who actually went through the video for us. He hadn't actually translated it prior, so he actually sat down and watched the whole. I think this is the 30-minute video, so it was nice of him to actually do that. And I'll read through some of the notes he made. So he says it was started as using Shenmue 2 as the base. So the game actually starts in Hong Kong.
Okay.
For Shenmue, made around 1,300 characters, so an MMO seemed a good fit. So obviously this is Yu Suzuki saying this.
Yeah.
Actually, it is kind of right, actually, because Yu Suzuki probably thinks of Shenmue as 1 and 2 combined, doesn't he? So in his head, I think we had 390-something characters in Shenmue 1 and maybe 700 in Shenmue 2. So yeah, he probably got 1,300 characters written in the series, perhaps. That's what he means. He's going to try and include them all in the MMO. The original story goes from Yokosuka to China, and there's a lot of story left not yet told, so he wants to make good use of it. He says he's going to add new stories, events, minigames. He's going to include common MMO elements such as a community function, leveling up, buy/sell items, guild halls, battles. And the battles will be a challenge to do online, but will work to achieve a smooth action, apparently. He wants to support team battles of 50 versus 50 or even 100 versus 100. The weapons use will be possible in battles as well. You'll be able to register shortcuts to carry out your favourite moves and fights. Information on the characters here: you build your own character choosing one of 3 groups: a fighting group that uses traditional martial arts, a street fighting group with modern techniques, he says think Ren, and a group that are not strong physically but use spirited methods such as mind control and flying.
That's Shenfar all day, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say Shenfar sort of.
Yeah, that's
Gi.
her
Is
all
it
day.
Gi or Ki? Magical elements anyway.
Yeah.
Spiritual, yeah. It's like talking to animals and possibly. He says you can customize your character with costumes and weapons. He's got some enemy characters, but they've not yet been confirmed. But possibilities include Chinese ghost-like enemies in an old, disused mountain temple. Ooh, I wonder if that's the Cliffside Temple. Still thinking about whether to include the half Spider-Man enemy. So Matt can probably show a picture of this concept art of like this half man, half spider thing. I'll dig that out for you, Matt, if you can't find it.
Sweet.
And he says South Korea, there's a closed beta schedule for the end of November 2005, and China is aiming for winter 2005, but Japan is still TBC, but he would like to release it during 2005. So that might be confirmation then that it was planned to be released in Japan as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Some of those bits are quite interesting when he talks about new stories, events, mini games. Fair enough. I like this one: guild halls and battles and things like that. So is that is that a ranking system for fighting, for example, like we saw in Shenmue 3? Potentially, I'm just
possibly. When I've played MMOs before, you can join a guild, which is like you normally announce it that you've got a guild. Does anyone want to join? And you recruit people into your guild, and there's like a separate chat for guild members, and you can go like as a guild, a group of players. So saying there's 50 versus 50 or 100 versus 100, it's not just like me just going into the middle of a fight and having it out. It'll probably be like 50 guild members of like Shenmue Dojo guild versus 50 members of someone else's guild. Big fight, group fight, kind of like that. So that's kind of what the guild thing was. But he does mention at some point, I don't think we've mentioned yet, player housing, which is another interesting one. You get your own house. So yeah, I don't know how that would have worked or where you would have set up your house. Maybe somewhere in China.
It's interesting, isn't it? And what you could have done, how you would have customized it. I do think of it seems a bit further down the line, but I remember PlayStation Home, you had your own space that you could customize and get items for. Would it have been something like that, maybe? That's probably where it would have gone, thinking about it. But it very much sounds like your very typical MMO. Lots of customizations, guild, battling, simple to pick up and play, and sort of repetitive play to get people sort of grinding away at it.
Yeah, it does sound like your typical, Korean MMO, but with a Shenmue theme.
Yeah, definitely.
Not necessarily like a Shenmue-focused game, but like an MMO set in Shenmue's world, which still sounds quite cool, even now, actually saying it out loud like that. Just more Shenmue would be amazing, but like something that's ongoing and you can dip in and out whenever you want to, that would be quite cool for Shenmue fans. I know it's never actually been cancelled. I think it has been cancelled, but it's never actually been announced as cancelled. But you're never going to see this game. I don't know why I'm even bringing it up, but I would like to, hopefully we uncover it at some point anyway. Maybe you can get the server back online and all play it together or something.
I'd love to. If someone has this game out there,
yeah.
Bloody hell, it's one of the holy grail of Shenmue.
If you've ever played this game, you live in Korea or China or something, guys. You were one of the beta testers, and you've still got it on your machine, or you might think there's a computer somewhere in your house that 17 years ago you downloaded this thing. Get it out and get it sent over to us.
I bet you if there's a beta of this out there, Lemon could crack it.
You think one person out of all the people that played it may have it? I don't know.
We'll find out if anybody's listening and watching this.
Matt, you want to take the next one? It's kind of like a little Yu Suzuki interview. So this was on November the 3rd. Very short little interview, but
this sort of mainly focused on AM Plus, which Yu Suzuki had now sort of head up, moving away from digital Rex and touching upon sci-fi or something like that. It was like a new game that he was working on, which I don't ever think
touchscreen arcade game on it. I think remember someone said that they cancelled it because it was burning the fingers or something.
It was getting too hot, wasn't it, on the screen? But it looked all right. Anyway,
cool.
So they have a paragraph here on Shenmue Online. It says, moving on to Shenmue Online, which was rumoured for cancellation due to the development conflicts, Suzuki is quick to assure us that reports of a halt in development are completely unfounded. We have daily meetings and are currently working hard on the game's development. Rest assured, Shenmue Online is currently in development in Taiwan as a massively multiplayer online title where players are placed in the world of Suzuki's Dreamcast epic Shenmue. The game is set for PC release in early 2006.
So it must have been quite close, because if he's saying this at the end of 2005, the game must have had pretty good shape, right? They can't be saying it's going to release in like 3 months' time otherwise.
No, and you think it would certainly be in another beta phase, wouldn't you? Looking at where they were going with it, and that was the last we heard of it until China Joy 2006.
Which is interesting, isn't it? So that little confirmation that the game hadn't been cancelled and it was moving on as expected. Again, we didn't hear anything until the 28th to the 30th of July, which is when it was shown off at China Joy 2006. And again, we got the full show. And I think this is the YouTube video we're going to watch in a little bit, Matt, but not just yet. Let's just go through the details. But I did make a mention that it looks much better in this preview. And this is actually the event where Yu Suzuki's handed those 2 large mirrors.
Oh, yes.
You can pop a picture of that up on the screen. It's pretty cool to see. I don't know if they were made by fans or whoever was hosting the event, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know if China Joy is actually a yearly thing. I don't know. Or it was just a one-off. I
don't know, actually. It's worth looking at.
Going off on that, I guess someone that was in attendance, perhaps, because this was released on July the 29th, right in the middle of that period of the China Joy event. We've got a 4-gamer article, and this has been translated kindly by Switch again. So, Sega released their latest video of Shenmue Online, which is an MMORPG whose development was announced in August 2004 at China Joy. Oh, that was China Joy as well, so it must have been a yearly thing. Before the movie was shown, a total of 20 dancers appeared on the stage. They danced for about 10 minutes, alleviating the audience. And by this time, a large number of spectators had already gathered in front of the stage, pushing each other around, taking pictures, cheering and otherwise getting quite excited, which is nice to see, I suppose, if you're Yu Suzuki and you're hoping that people are excited for your game. So the excitement reached a climax when Mr. Yu Suzuki took to the stage in response to a call from the MC. Mr. Suzuki announced the release of the movie. It must be a
trailer or
footage, trailer or something, and returned to the back of the stage. If he would have spoken a little, so he obviously didn't say too much. The movie was immediately shown on the screen. Okay, so he must have just announced that he was going to be showing the latest footage. As soon as the movie started, the audience began to watch it intently, and the rowdy excitement that had been building up to that point suddenly became still. Although the movie did not include audio commentary, there were many scenes that showed the contents of the game, and I think the audience was satisfied with the movie. The video showed the job system of the game. There are 3 jobs as previously announced: the Fighting Master, which uses ancient martial arts, the Warrior, who fights with modern combative techniques, and the Hermit, who manipulates mystical techniques such as Qigong. Each job has 2 intermediate and 3 advanced levels. The existence of quests has also been revealed, and at the time of the open beta test there will be over 150 quests. The basic concept of the battle scenes were to be the same as the previous released ones, but the graphics have changed considerably. There are more than 1,000 types of motions, and we'll make a point here, actually, there's an awesome topic on the forums, people talking about online. Lemon Haze actually released all the animations.
He did.
I can't recall actually where he found them or where he got them from, but it's really cool actually to see all of these animations in play for the characters that they had planned for the game. So yeah, there's 1,000 types of motions. So I'm assuming again they must have got a mocap studio for that, right?
Yeah, something would have happened
Something
for that.
like that.
And I will try and get the animations on the video for everybody, so you can see what Lemon released to everybody. It's quite cool to see this actually.
Yeah, pretty cool. And characters seem to move in a variety of ways depending on their class, the situation in battle, and the combination of keys. There are also a number of special effects with light effects. However, looking at the current movie in terms of resolution and motion, it is undeniable that the graphics level is a generation old. It will be interesting to see how far the game is tuned up. We also learn that a variety of towns will appear, including cobblestone streets, towns with old European-style architecture, urban areas with a clutter of buildings, Hong Kong in question mark, and farming villages with dirt roads. The game also depicts a farming village with dirt roads, etc., making the setting more specific than the all of China, in quotes, that was previously only announced. Unfortunately, this movie was the only information we were given on Shenmue Online. Mr. Suzuki, who took to the stage again after the movie was shown, only said a single word, "Shei," which is obviously thank you. There was no explanation of the game or commentary on the development status of the game, leaving us feeling a little bit let down, but we will report on the event as soon as we learn any new information.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, and we're coming to the tail end here now, Matt, so...
We are indeed. So in that time frame that James just talked about, there was an article from IGN and talking about Sega Online in China, and he was saying Sakura and Shenmue on display at China Joy, as we know, and sort of picking through some of the sort of main quotes here. It says here, for Western audiences, news of Sakura television projects was drowned out by an appearance by Shenmue Online. Producer Yu Suzuki was in attendance at China Joy and brought with him a new video of the elusive game. The video showed off various scenes along with phrases proclaiming 150 plus quests at the time of the beta, various events and actions, and over 1,000 battle motions. That's quite a lot. A few areas of play, including a downtown Chinese city, a nature-filled suburb, served as the setting for some quick fights, followed by an appearance from some main characters in Shenmue 1 and 2. Sadly, Suzuki didn't provide an updated schedule for Shenmue Online's release, and it was set to begin service in China in 2006. And it says here, Sega seems intent on pushing these online properties first in China, so we may have to wait to get them on our shores, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on how things develop in China and keep checking back here. Going into GameSpot very quickly, it talks about very quickly the bitter fallout between Sega and developer JC Entertainment, but the project now seems back on track with the video at China Joy 2006. And then it goes into, again, the video, which clocks in about 6.5 minutes in length and gives hints about the game's class system, show each class and what they were doing, and into intermediate and advanced specialization, so highly customizable at this point. So it looks like it's a very well developed system, like it's a long way down the line, if that makes sense, in terms of what's there. Apparently there'll be 2 to 3 specializations for each class, And there'll be quests for players to complete, which are over 150, which will be rated for the open beta. Some of the mini games were announced and shown here. Pottery making. That's very Shenmue, isn't it?
That sounds ace, though, doesn't it?
It does. It's very Shenmue. Dice and darts, which we make, we know are there, and they were shown on stills. 3 minutes of battle scenes was shown, showing a load of the combat motions that will be featured in the open beta. And some of the game settings were showcased, from the quaint rural towns to huge modern cities reminiscent of Hong Kong. And again, no specific details around the development and projected release were given. So at this point, before we sort of jump into a year later, things are looking okay. There's a trailer, there's a beta on the way, which we know happened. But then 2007, and as you put in your notes, James, always in bloody August.
Yeah, it seems to be, doesn't it? Every year in August, something's happened. You got the announcement 2004, Tokyo Game Show or whatever 2005, China Joy 2006, and now August again 2007. What have we got, Matt?
Wow, the shit at the fan.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, I will go to Adam. Now, this is from Adam Dory, who was at Kitsuko at the time. And I'm going to go on record again, as I always do with Adam's articles. He follows the dojo, he follows our content, and he's a real supporter. He's a big Shenmue fan. He's a big supporter of the dojo and what James and I are doing. I have a ton of time and respect for Adam, and he's very open and candid here. So going over to the forum, Wired.com quote this actually in their article, but I'll read it out for everybody because it's really interesting.
It's a good article.
So Hellraiser, who owned the dojo at the time, dropped Adam an email to get an update on Shenmue Online, Yu Suzuki, and anything else in regards to Shenmue, and includes any personal afterthoughts from his Next Gen article. So if you remember that Next Gen article they ran, talking about Shenmue 3 being ready for Next Gen, that's setting the scene for this email, essentially. So he says, hey, to clarify, what I meant was I want to get clarification on something I heard a couple of days ago, which is, yes, Shenmue Online is fucked, and Suzuki's status is once again up in the air, which counts Shenmue 3 totally out of the picture right now. This is confirmed, it seems, but I'm not running any story on it. So that's pretty unequivocal right there that it's buggered. He then talks about the Next Gen article, which I will go into because it's quite worth for a bit of context. He said, so yeah, Neil, whoever this is, did do our stuff for the early days of Kitsuko. And although I don't remember specifically saying it to them, I've said these words to plenty of people. I regret publishing that story, the Next Gen story, to an extent because it was as stone solid true and genuine as our source was. Someone who was and still is on the production side of AM2. Quite well known, but not publicly enough in the West for anybody on your forum to ever guess correctly. Things changed rapidly during and after the publishing of this story, and most short-sighted people following the story blame us for our inaccurate reporting.
Is that the Shenmue 3 story?
Yes.
That you did? Yeah.
Which is why I keep saying to him, I want him on the show to talk about this, but I can see why, looking at this, if people are still in the industry, etc., they may not be able to talk about it. And it's still a bit dodgy because I know Adam still works in the industry. So he's saying our reporting was fair and the facts were true. And I've always said this with this article, that at that time of writing, that was legit. I've always said it, and I will
100%.
go to the grave saying that as well. Sega's consistency, communication to RHQ's practice decisions were not. Sega of America's flat-out denial was hilarious to me. It's a big company, and the fact that then PR people in America had no idea of the status of something we've been following more intimately than they have for ages, I have to say, came as no surprise. Reporting on something that is such a distant 2-3 year possibility from probable fruition, in the light that it might get announced more imminently than that, when we cannot name a source and offer no evidence and offer just our word for it, was a bad idea. I can understand that looking in hindsight. It harmed my and our reputation, Kitsuko's name, and the rest of it. So we're only publishing exclusive news ever since then, when A, it can be revealed is obviously true. Many times this has happened, including the Sega scoops. Or B, we can quote and name the source, and then if it's bullshit, it's their fault for lying, not theirs. Case in point, Ogawa denying Knights about a week before it was announced, rest case. It was a valuable lesson. I know plenty of things falls in this category A or B to be true right now. All kinds of game stories will be that big and simply not publish them for that reason. Companies change minds, lie. Companies will say the media is lying to make them look better and so on. This is the next bit. And this is, again, sort of feeding back into Shenmue Online and the next gen article. As for Shenmue, I'd have to say at this stage, it is worth forgetting about. If all the fans get any rich relatives together and channel it through the dojo, perhaps we could buy the rights, hire Suzuki, he'd likely say yes, and independently make the game under license from Sega at no risk to them. This is the only way it will get made at this stage, I think. Sorry about this. And that's Adam's email.
That's kind of what happened, though, isn't it? Because you've got people like Cedric. I don't know how rich he is, but he got together with Suzuki, didn't he? And he came up with a plan.
It is, isn't it? And I won't read the rest of the follow-up email because it's not particularly relevant here. Yeah. But there's sort of 2 points here. Shenmue Online was never officially cancelled. It came out through Adam Dorey being very open with the community, and my thanks goes on record for that, because we would have had no idea otherwise. We'd have made assumptions, we'd have had no idea.
The little bit at the end of the Wire article is quite funny, because they said, while we can only hope that Dorey has no clue what he's talking about, it's sadly more likely that he's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and you know what? The Next Gen article, I've talked about this 1,000 times. I mentioned it just now. I'm going to mention it again. That article, in my mind, was legitimate at the time, right? You are risking your neck for something that big at that time, with Shenmue Online still at development in that point. Let we have that on record. It was still in development at that point, that they obviously had plans for wider Shenmue. Something happened with Shenmue Online, and it was the nail in the coffin for Sega at that point. Now, who's to blame there? No idea. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. Looking back, and hindsight is a wonderful, wonderful thing. They should just made fucking Shenmue 3.
Yeah, in hindsight, they had the chance, basically, didn't they? And who knows what would have happened then if they released it on the PlayStation, Xbox, and all those sort of things. It could have actually been a successful series. But obviously, I can see why they've done this online thing, or at least attempted to do this online thing, with what we know now about China and Korea being like the main two.
Yeah.
It was looking like it was going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. And maybe it even was. It's just, for some reason, this game never got off the ground. It was made, released beta-wise, but it would never actually hit a proper release for some reason or another. I'm not sure why. But obviously, yeah, I'm pretty sure, by the sounds of it, it was definitely confirmed cancelled at this point in 2007.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. The website actually stayed. I've got a note here. According to the Wayback Machine, the last snapshot for Shenmue Online actually being online is October the 5th, 2013. So the website's not available anymore, of course, but that was the last date when it was. And I think we're going to have a little break now, Matt, and we're going to summarise what we know about Shenmue Online. I've got some quite interesting translations from the Chinese side of things. I did a bit of a search to see if I could pick up any extra information on some Chinese websites, so we'll get into that in a moment. But Matt, you've got a song for us.
Yeah, no other name for it other than Shenmue 5.
Shenmue 5, okay. Welcome back. That was Shenmue 05 from the Shenmue Online OST.
Winterfest is here! Pull on your Christmas jumper and cozy down by the fire for a full weekend of festive gaming content. Our gift to you, right here on Radio Sega.
And we're just going to go through a little bit of a summary now of everything that's happened, because there is some actual extra little tidbits in here that's quite interesting. For some reason in the Wikipedia articles and the ShenWiki ones, there is some extra little details. I'm not sure where they came from, but we'll read it out here. So, in 2004, Shenmue Online was announced to be a development and joint venture between Sega Japan and JC Entertainment of Korea. Private beta testing was due to begin in South Korea in November 2005, with a public beta in China in spring 2005, before a release later in 2005. When Shenmue Online was first announced under the development of JC Entertainment, the screenshots released were considered by many Shenmue fans to be disappointing graphically, especially as being a part of a game series that boasted groundbreaking graphics on the Dreamcast. In 2005, JC Entertainment pulled out of the development, and as they owned 50% of the properties of Shenmue Online, there was legal debate over who had rights to the game. In November 2005, it was confirmed in an interview with Yu Suzuki that even though the Korean company JCE had announced their withdrawal from development, since Shenmue Online is a Sega venture, they would fulfill their duty of completing it. Yu said, despite the internet rumours, development was well on its way and following their initial goals and target, he added that Sega Sammy would make an official announcement about its progress in the future. At the China Joy Convention in July 2006, with the development under a guise of a Taiwan-based company, a trailer was shown which showcased features involving minigames and combat with marked graphical improvements. In 2006, 6 new screens from the gameplay along with a 14-minute video were released to the public. During the 4th China Expo, these shots showed further improvements on the graphical issues, comparing the graphics to other MMOs and even home versions of Shenmue. Since 2007, news about Shenmue Online has slowly declined, and reports of its cancellation have appeared on Destructoid and Wired News. Sega have still yet to publicly confirm or deny these reports. So, gameplay-wise, players will join one of 3 clans led by Shenhua, Shuing, and Wu Ying, who's Ren, right? So that's interesting. So Shuing, Shenhua, and Ren are the 3 clans, and go through the story by completing tasks given by those leaders. Of course, during the course of the story, each clan will interact with one another in both friendly and hostile situations. Landy and Rio will definitely make appearances in those situations as well. When asked about the various activities possible in Shenmue 2 and whether they will make it into Shenmue Online, Yu says that the arcade games will definitely make it in, and 2/3 of the things like working, collecting capsule toys, etc. from Shenmue 2 will also make it into Shenmue Online, along with much more content exclusive to Shenmue Online. Yu adds that the game will take place not only in Hong Kong and China, but Macau as well, which is interesting. Where's Macau, Matt?
That's China.
Or is that its own country?
It's China, I think.
Is it? He says, Yu smiled when he was asked about what players will be able to do in Macau. It's interesting. I wonder why. Is that something they added just for this, or is that somewhere we're going to head in the future? I don't know.
Possibly.
He says that QTEs will also make it into Shenmue Online, but conceptually it's impossible to implement the exact same kind of QTE into an online game. So in Shenmue Online, QTEs will be something geared towards an online MMO game, but since the implementation hasn't been finalised yet, he can't go into the specifics. And he states that Shenmue's world is very suitable for online play. The world will be much bigger than the home versions thus far, including over 1,200 buildings and locations, and it will be possible for players to have his or her own house. Yu adds that he's always been very fond of Chinese culture, so he's happy that Shenmue is liked by the Chinese gamers. This is why he's making this game for the Chinese market. But from a game perspective, Shenmue Online will include many things that all gamers will be able to enjoy. So this is from Shenmue Wiki, that says that the game is aimed at the Chinese and Korean markets and set in the Shenmue universe. The FMV videos that were promoting the game showed many of the main series' characters during scenarios and following on from the story of Shenmue 2, and what many would consider potential series spoilers for future chapters of the Shenmue saga, such as Guilin and Shenhua being magically reverted to look as though she was part of the Qing dynasty of old, which is a bit of a tidbit here. Zhu Yanda states to Ryo and Shenmue 2 that both mirrors form a key and were hidden away in order to revive the Qing dynasty. This is followed by a phoenix and dragon coming to life. However, it has never been stated whether Shenmue Online is canon or not, and judging by the cyber teleporting player characters into the battle between Ryo and Landy towards the end of the FMV, and the overall tone of the footage, including players running around shooting fireballs, it looks like Shenmue Online was not meant to be canon at all with the numbered series titles. I do question about that FMV the Shenmue stuff anyway, personally.
Yeah.
Whether or not we'll see that in the future or not begs the question. Reception-wise, it says from the fans was mostly negative based on the genre chosen, because obviously everyone wanted a Shenmue 3 and not an online game, and the fantastical elements such as players magically shooting fireballs that were out of character for the series, and the approach to the plot in the FMV promotional video. And this is an interesting point, Matt, because I have seen, back in those days, and probably even myself, seeing this magic, these fireballs, Phoenix and Dragon flying in the sky and stuff, and the end of Shenmue 2 with the floating sword and the mirrors and stuff, and Shenmue and the power and the Jedi mind stuff. I was one of those people that was like, I'm a little bit disappointed, because the Shenmue games for me was like insanely detailed, realistic, especially that first game, that the world was living and breathing. You felt like you were Ryo in a living and breathing world of Yokosuka. And then the Shenmue 2 aspect of things, 2/3 of the game is the same. And then that final part is like introducing magic elements for the very first time. And it took me by surprise, actually, at the time. But over the years, that is the part of the game now that actually interests me the most, whether or not it's because we've had games since then that have like been hyper realistic and no one's really doing the magical aspects, this mystery side of things that Shenmue was doing at the end of Shenmue 2. Maybe that's more intriguing now, or because we've had time to think over the years about what it all means and where the story's going to go. But that stuff, actually, like the magic side of things now, actually interests me more than the realism of the games.
It's really interesting when you look, and we are going to look at these trailers properly. When you look at the artwork, as I've already mentioned, a lot of that's made its way into the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter. The scroll in one of the trailers, that's pretty much the scroll in Shenmue 3. Mm-hmm. And they talk about the King Dynasty and some of the magic, and they look at Shenfua's powers, which we see in the Project Berkeley trailer, etc. I know it was never confirmed as canon, but I think some of this magical element, this mysterious element, is going to come into Shenmue 4. So my mind, and this is only my mind, I think a lot of this is more canon than we think, or certainly was at the time. Whether that's changed since the situation's changed, I don't know. I mean, do you know what my reaction to it was at the time? Was, why is this not Shenmue 3? That was my straight up reaction. Not to say I wouldn't have played it had I had been able to. Absolutely. I would have played it without a shadow of a doubt. But my immediate reaction, I think, along with a lot of the community, was, why is this not Shenmue 3? Now, I get it from a business point of view, having looked at and talked about what we've talked about around the Chinese and Korean market in MMOs being $1.5 billion worth of, pie. Mm-hmm. So I can see it. I can see it. I get it. But considering all the shit that went down with this, it just, I don't know, it didn't lend itself to realizing what I think they wanted to do. Whereas at least Shenmue 3, they'd have made some money back. And internally, from what it seems here, they canned it. No idea why, whether the legal issues were still a problem, whatever's happened internally, it put the nail in the coffin for Shenmue at Sega. That was it. They'd blown all this money, probably at that point near on, if you're to believe, $100 million on Shenmue 1 and 2 and Shenmue Online, and they gone balls to this. So it was the nail in the coffin. Then obviously Yu Suzuki then left Sega in 2009, and that was it, wasn't it?
The rest is history, isn't it, I guess? 2009, there's a little GameSpot article here. We're not going to read this, but this just kind of puts the end of an era, really, for Yu Suzuki at Sega. Just, less than 2 years after what was potentially going to be a release of Shenmue Online. Well, the cancellation, actually, that was 2007, but 2 years on from that, I'm not sure if he did anything within those years or what he was overseeing at the time. But yeah, that's a shame. A shame that had to happen, I guess.
Yeah. Again, I'm reading between the lines here. I'm just putting an analytical brain onto it. I wonder if Sega blamed Yu Suzuki for this dropping off. Was there something in his executive director role that he wanted, or there was a clash out and they said, sod this, we're not doing it, and cancelled the project? What caused it? What caused that cancellation? I'd love to know. Was it Yu Suzuki? Was it Sega? Was it issues with this Taiwanese company that I know was subsidiaries of Sega anyway? why did they pull the plug on this in the end? Why?
It
That's
is a
the
shame
question.
because this is kind of what led to Shenmue's demise really at the time, because
It killed
if you
it.
think we were all waiting for Shenmue 3 and then they've spent 3-4 years working on this title and then that gets cancelled, it's like, where'd you go from this? And I know there was the Shenmue City, the mobile lab thing, perhaps that's what he did after this, because I think that was 2010, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
So he was probably trying to work on his own then on how we can kind of rekindle the mess that's been made regarding Shenmue Online, perhaps with the Shenmue City. He was thinking, oh, perhaps I'll tap into the mobile industry, Mafia Wars, we'll get the income required, I can do what I want to do then, buy the license off Sega or whatever and get this Shenmue 3 going, because it seems like he's got his heart set on Shenmue from literally this point onwards. I feel like he did little to no work other than, I guess, just trying to find a way of getting Shenmue back.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't want to come across as I'm blaming Yu Suzuki for this project being cancelled. I don't know. I'm just putting something out there.
Who's to blame?
But what I think is very obvious from what we've talked about here is that this was the nail in the coffin at Sega at the time. That finished Shenmue for Sega until the Kickstarter, which was 2015. So you've then got 8 years later.
Yeah,
and that was the only reason Sega picked it up again, because the Kickstarter was so successful.
How fast time flies! That was 8 years later,
yeah.
But it's coming up to 8 years since the Kickstarter.
I know.
that's mad in itself, isn't it? So but, that's another story. Anyway, I've got a few little interesting bits that I've managed to source from Chinese websites. So it's saying here that maps pursue realism. Hong Kong, Guilin, Suzhou, Xi'an, and other cities are all made according to their original appearance, and the scenes are huge. And we have got a picture of a map, actually. This was Aberdeen, but it was like a recreation map that they were using in the game there. So if they were trying to base the worlds from these amazing cities and stuff, that would be pretty cool to see. And the game players can choose to play martial artists. We've talked about this, but what is interesting about this is the styles. I've got a little bit later. So, at the same time, it's going to introduce famous martial arts routines from the VR Warrior series, whatever that is, which is Baji Quan, Shaolin Quan, Taji Quan, Truncated Fist, etc. So there's quite a lot of interesting things. I thought the Baji Quan was interesting anyway, for what we know from Shenmue 3 now. And according to this, it's got 6,000 animation sets of animations. So whether at this point the animation set had been growing. And then we've got a detail here on the exact number of beta recruits. So according to this, there's only 999 players. I don't know why they stopped at 999 and not 1,000, or the 1,000 was like Yu Suzuki. I don't know. But yeah, so that's probably a telltale sign of why we've never seen this game resurface, because out of the whole entire globe, only 999 people had the chance to play better. That doesn't even mean that they went and downloaded it. They just had access. And how many of those people were like, oh, this is shit, deleted it? How many people really love Shenmue and continued to play it and considered it a holy grail to keep on their system? I don't know. I don't even know if I would have kept it on my systems. You know what I mean? Over time, you get a new PC, you upgrade your hard drive or whatever, you delete files trying to make space for whatever, porn or something. It's just one of the things that you'd probably uninstall if it, especially if the servers weren't available. It was just a beta that was like for a period of like a couple of weeks or a month, and there's no way of accessing it. I can see why it's not been archived anyway, especially in those days. You're talking 2005, when the internet was still at its sort of infancy, and it was like difficult to upload huge files. There was no such thing as like Google Drive and stuff like that. So I don't know.
No, it's just one of those things.
People would have just taken it for granted, wouldn't they? There's a download link there. I can download it whenever I want, but obviously these links die. So whoever has a copy of this, again, we would love to see it. I'm sure it must be somewhere internally of Sega or one of these companies somewhere. I just don't know if it's ever going to surface somewhere.
I hope it does.
I guess it could have been burnt to a disc at some point, right?
Yeah, quite easily.
Because it was easy to pop a disc in and install the game rather than download it, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's one of the Holy Grail along with the Saturn version, isn't it?
Yeah.
As in, if anybody's got access to this and fancies releasing it to us, feel free.
Please do. Yeah. So, right, Matt, before we have a little break, I just want you to click that link, types of characters, and this is going to break down. You can translate this into English, let's see. So, these are the types of characters that you could probably make on startup of the game. So, you log into the game, it's going to ask you if you create a character, choose a name, etc. And then you're going to be able to pick from these sets of characters. So, there's 4 per class. So you got your traditional martial artist, which I'm guessing would be like your sort of Ryo Hazuki, using martial arts. Some interesting character designs there. I've seen that woman on the far right in some of the gameplay elements. I'm not sure what that dude's got in the middle. It's like a weird triangle-y staff thing or some sort of a weapon. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
And then your second set of characters are Street Fighters, which is apparently based on someone like Ren, for example. And these have got like knives. Some dude's got like a big sword by the looks of it. Funnily enough, the girl on the far right there, Matt's got Nozomi skirt and she's got a ball and chain.
She looks like she's gonna go and hunt Rio down.
Yeah, one side's a sickle and the other side's like a spiked ball. So Nozomi badass there, 2.0. And the bottom set of characters there is the magic sort of classes. Apparently these are mysterious warlocks. Very unusual concepts for Shenmue characters, I suppose, although the second character kind of looks like someone from Niawu, little, like a NPC with buns.
Yeah, and looking at the traditional martial artist, the one in the red dress looks a little bit like Wei Zin from Shenmue 3. A little bit. Maybe I'm pushing that one, but
there is a concept artwork I think I sent you, Matt, that looked like that girl in Bailey Village, the trainer one.
On the screen.
Yeah. So yeah, let's have a little break and then we'll go into these videos that we've kept mentioning that we're going to watch. We are going to watch them now. So we're going to have a break with a piece of music here. This is Free Day 10. Okay, welcome back. That was Free Day 10 from the Shenmue Online soundtrack. So, Matt, let's get into this. This is going to be pretty cool.
You're listening to Winterfest 2022, only on Radio Sega. For our full programming schedule, head to radiose.ga/Winterfest.
So we've got a full 12-minute trailer. This is from the China Joy 2006, so this is like the latest build of the game, and we're going to show this on the screen as we react to it. So let's get the count all the way back to 0.
Yep.
And 3, 2, 1, go. I've got no sound for this, by the way, I don't think.
No, I
Have
haven't.
I? It might come from my headphones actually once it starts. So we've got this. Yeah.
there we
Oh
go.
shit! Bit too loud. Let's turn that around. Okay, so this is what, as fans, we would have watched back in the day.
Yeah.
The Shenmue Online logo. This would have got us excited.
Using the traditional Shenmue writing. And then we've
That's
got
true.
standard Shenmue battle music here.
A black screen, Shuing walking
Shuing.
on the street. This I remember this trailer
I
a lot.
do.
Quests. So it's showing you some quests here. I'm not going to pause them, but it looks like they just took screenshots from Shenmue 2 there, actually.
Yeah, it does a bit.
It says over 150 in the open beta. Got events with Joy being held at knife point.
And you've got a helicopter coming over, which looks like Hong
That's
Kong.
the Chi Men, is it?
This is
There's
Ren.
Ren, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's
There you
Rio.
go.
Do you know what? The model of Rio is interesting because obviously they had access to the
That's an interesting one, by the way.
Shenmue 2 stuff, didn't they? So Rio's model's pretty much spot on, isn't it?
This is a very nice model of Rio,
Yeah.
actually. It's like kind of like his Sega All-Stars Racing stuff. I love that. Loads of stuff. It's just the same 4 repeated millions of times. But yeah, that was an interesting one of Shenmue and the little girl.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I'm
And
not sure what the little girl was. Oh, here's the mocap. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
is what I was
proper
saying
mocap
about
for
the
this,
6,000 animations,
including the
apparently.
weapons.
weapon-based stuff, yeah. Over 1,000 battle motions this touted here.
So here's Ren
Black
and his
suits.
gang.
The heavens. So it's talking about jobs here. This is the girl.
Yeah, that's what he's in, isn't it? Looks
Yeah,
like
I reckon so.
And who
then
she
someone with a
is.
fan. These are the classes, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And then looks like there was like rank stuff. So
Yeah.
you split your job halfway through.
You've got Dragon the Phoenix and the Shenmue Online title again.
So up until this point, interesting stuff because it's such good quality CG work. At the time,
Yeah,
it blew me
really
away.
good.
Actually,
Someone turned this into a Shenmue 3 trailer, didn't they?
yeah, probably did. Yeah.
This is some in-game stuff.
So this is running through Hong Kong, and there's signs there that I felt like I recognised, but I don't recognise the street unless it's
Very
Golden Market,
This
is
might be because it's beta, but it's very framey in the way it runs, isn't it?
yeah. Obviously, you can see the graphical differences. It's
Yeah.
not as high quality.
This
That is quite nice,
This is
though.
Hong,
This
yeah,
is
this is Aberdeen. They've updated some of that, haven't they?
phone booths.
Yeah.
There wasn't any phone booths.
No, definitely not.
Oh,
Don't know where that is.
canal. That could be Shuzu.
Ishuzu, yeah.
It's supposed to be Canal Village.
Back to Pigeon
That's definitely
Park.
Pigeon Park. Yeah.
They've put more benches in.
I don't know if you can click and sit down on them. Bit
Probably.
social element to them, probably.
Yeah. You can definitely see the
That's pretty
Shenmue 2
cool.
base, can't you, for some of this?
It's kind of an updated skyline, that.
Beverly Hills Wharf.
Yeah. I think it was like the characters we were put off by, like, who's this dude?
Now, this is interesting.
Is this a park?
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
It's not Mango
Don't know where
Temple, is it?
though.
So
No.
this looks like beta
This
Hong
looks like
Kong
a new,
footage, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, new area almost, doesn't
That
it?
bloody Royal Mail postbox just ran
Whee!
past. Must be on strike this day.
Is this the
And
run
then-
to Shenfar's house? Because it looks like it,
Kind
doesn't
of, but it looked very industrial
Yeah,
up
maybe
until this
it's not.
point.
There's a temple actually in the background there.
Ooh, is this the one from the swing in the flashback? Because that little temple in the background looks a bit
Yeah, it looks
sort of
interesting.
for his
doesn't it?
parentsy. Ooh, some nice fireflies.
It could be an idea from that. They may have drawn some
Yeah.
inspiration from it.
Does look like that cutscene a little bit, doesn't
There's
it?
a
With the,
little, yeah.
I know that's quite common though. That sort of structure in China, but like you say, it could be inspired from that. The pond with the fireflies.
So what's coming?
Oh, cool. So this is
Battle
battle systems
thingy.
stuff.
Okay. This is the battle
See,
system.
this was where we were put off a little bit because
Mm.
obviously you're used to the Virtua Fighter engine, and then I think the names didn't help. I wouldn't have put the names up like this.
No,
It looks
It
very
is very MMO though. I don't know where this area is, but he's obviously beating people up, using some magic there. There's a fireball.
It looks a bit like maybe they're trying to recreate Yokosuka Harbour. I don't know, because there's a forklift in the back there with a crate up. If you notice, warehouses, aren't they? But the fighting looks very, very stiff, considering the mocap bit.
Doesn't look great, does it? The fighting here
doesn't look great, considering there's so many players.
I know it's a beta, but it looks very stiff.
This is what MMOs look like of the time, but coming from Shenmue people, it looks really weird. It looks like he keeps doing the same move as well.
Yeah, that's very sort of simple battle system. You tap your mouse button, do stuff.
What's that say? Black Yang.
Actually, the one-on-one battle looks a bit better, but there's no hit detection there, is there?
Yeah.
There's no hit detection. Like the one-on-one motions.
Yeah, the hitting.
Look better.
Hitting from a distance, aren't they? A bit weirdly. I know what you mean. See, this wasn't really a good showcase of the game, was it? I don't think.
Not for me, no.
You've got a little boy in the back.
Cool, though.
Well, two little boys that look exactly the same, firing fireballs from a distance. Yeah, the music's cool. It's just obviously using the Shenmue battle music.
I will, for the video, play the music as well, so people can get a feel for it.
Yeah, just quietly. Yeah. Staff lady here. So, I don't recognise her, but was she from that second class?
She looked like
the Ren
it.
characters. Yeah. So there's some elements that are quite cool. Like that's a cool move.
Yeah.
But again, this is why we were so disappointed. It didn't really fit in the Shenmue universe.
No, because it's too much, isn't it?
It is too much. Like the lightning coming off this, whether it's special effects or not, it looks like, I don't know, some sort of He-Man levels of lightning. Just a bit Star Warsy.
Yeah. The one-on-one battles are definitely better.
Yeah.
It lends itself better to that, I think.
There isn't any UI as well, so we can't
battle
really tell
effects
what's
sound
going on.
quite nice. They're okay.
I wonder if they were impressed with that work. I don't know.
I don't know.
So we've got the Sega logo here, and I think is this the start of the really cool stuff now?
It might be. This is like some of the stuff we're thinking's canon. Yeah, here's the scroll, right?
Yeah.
That's canon all day.
So we've got the two mirrors on there.
Yeah.
Ooh, who's that?
I don't
There's
know.
like a bloke there, isn't there? Like an old.
It's telling the prophecy, isn't it? And what's going to happen. This is canon. I'm sorry.
This is really cool.
This is canon.
They're trying to hide something here, I reckon, with the mirror. That's a character there. You can see her eyebrows.
Yeah, it looks like Niau's-san.
Did a bit, yeah. Would she be on a scroll?
Maybe.
Maybe. And then
This is Guilin, isn't it? So what city's that then?
Well, those are the rice fields, so is that Bailu?
It could be Bailu.
It makes you wonder if it's going to go back to this sort of area at some point. So, obviously for the audio listeners, we've got Shenmue looking up at the clouds. We've got the two mirrors there and the Shenmue Online logo.
So this is Ren running now, which is part of the trailer we just saw, with the black suits in front of him.
You'll be able to hear the music anyway, guys.
Yeah, the music.
So this is kind of a recreation of that scene with the lights, because it's always the lights from his mind. Did you see that little brief clip of concept art there?
Yeah, I did. That's got to be a future character.
Yeah, it might be nice to sort of slow this down at some point and have a look at the...
There's Landy, Rio running up the stairs, shooting the helicopter, Landy with his black suits.
So this is like the end of Shenmue 2, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
This is kind of the anime style, actually, where Rio and
it is a bit, isn't
Landy
it?
are on the rooftop, yeah. Only not really for what's going to come in a minute. If they show that, I don't know if they show that stuff in this trailer. You know, the virtual players that bleep in.
Oh, here we go. The clouds are obscuring the heavens now, aren't they?
Yes. See, it is based on the prophecy, and this has always been amazing.
This is like her Queen Dynasty clothing here that we've seen on the Shenmue US front.
Yep. And there's a lot of concept art of her in this white dress. It's definitely going to happen. They wouldn't have this stuff and say no.
No, this has got to be canon, isn't it?
This is proper, like she is the Empress.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely her links to the Emperor and the Empress are there, aren't they, for all to see?
See, it makes us think back to like when we were talking about the story. Obviously, she's on the swing, and mother and father look like the Emperor and Empress.
They do, don't they?
But if she's the descendant of that, does she become an Empress?
Yeah, and is that from a time gone by?
Yeah, the Mandy.
Yeah.
Really well put together, this trailer is, by the way.
It is. The CG trailer's quality.
Yeah. But all this stuff in between as well, concept art we keep seeing, and
Ren, concept art there.
yeah.
Rio's throwing the mirror.
Mirror toss is very reminiscent of Ren tossing the mirror.
Yeah. Oh, the fireflies.
Music's amazing.
Yeah, this is.
It does kick in the feels, doesn't it, when you hear stuff like this? And what could have been, man.
Bit more concept art.
Oh, this is the player stuff.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be you logging in to the servers.
Yeah, Landy looks pissed.
Yeah. Random
Final Fantasy character, there's Ewing.
Yes, Final Fantasy character.
And here we go. All the characters come in, and it's a massive battle now.
Everyone versus the Chi men. But then this is cool. So Landy's like raising his own dragon here, isn't he? So whether that means he had both mirrors.
And here's the thing.
Because he did, didn't he, actually? Because Rio tossed it to him.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The dragon and the phoenix are the symbol for the Emperor and the Empress. So has Landy got a relation to the Emperor?
Fucking hell, that's a good point. So could they be brother and sister then?
They could be related in some way, yeah. Or
they're both Chinese, aren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe her mother, the mother and father thing, maybe they abandoned both children and she went this way, he went to somewhere else, he became evil.
This is Shenfar's powers kicking in again.
Yeah. And that part there where she's holding that orb and she looks a bit like it's too bright. Remember the stuff in the Project Berkeley?
Yes. That trailer, that CG stuff, that is insane. That is gold for the community.
That is gold, isn't it?
That is ridiculous.
That gets your mind running, man. Really, really does.
It does, because there's so much there that could easily end up in Shenmue 4 or 5. And I maintain a lot of that would have been canon at the time. Whether it is now, I don't know. But it's cool to theorize about those sorts of things, isn't it? And really dive into that.
Yeah. So let's skip actually to this next video, Matt. Gwylyn and Aberdeen footage. So this is a little bit more of the running around.
Get it up 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Let me just wind it back to 0 when it loads. So yeah, it's all the way back to 0. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. So 3, 2, 1, play. Gwylyn. So this is just something I just randomly found while searching. So this is someone playing the game. So it must have been open beta or something. And it's a little girl running around.
Gwylyn? Yeah.
Gwylyn somewhere.
Notice how it's got the mini map on the top right. Shenmue 3 ended up having one of those.
A little mini map, didn't it? Yeah, you can see the skills at the bottom, the health bars and whatever. There's a little guy collecting herbs.
Yeah, from Shenmue 3.
Goats, those are the white goats, aren't they?
Yeah, so Biling.
Yeah. It's weird, you don't really see many deer since Shenmue 2, do you?
No.
It's supposed to be named after white deer, and it always seems to be goats. And then is this the Languishan port, perhaps?
It's certainly a port. Yeah, it looks like Languishan a little bit, doesn't it? So where is that then? She's running. It's like, because there's like on the right there was like an entrance to a temple.
Nice, very nicely designed.
Aberdeen. Looked more rudimentary, didn't it, Gwylyn, than we got?
Yeah, definitely. But it depends how big it is. It could be such a big area that you do get through the forests and stuff.
We're in Pigeon Park here. It's definitely been scaled back, hasn't it? You can see that.
Yeah, although it doesn't look too bad of a game. This looks much better than we originally saw. I feel like graphically. There's a bit of the inventory, so you can
Customization,
put
so you
your
get your clothes on and stuff.
That's
That's
on there.
very MMO, isn't it?
Yep. You've got the original music playing in the background.
There's vending machines.
Some cats. Dragon Cafe, did that say?
Yeah, look like it.
So you've got full building interiors here as well, which is pretty cool to see.
Glad
Whether or
they
not these
carried
would
that
have
on.
sold items to you or something.
Possibly, yeah. Would be a good idea, actually, wouldn't it?
There
Make
was a
use of the
character there,
shops.
NPC there was. So yeah, pretty cool to see some of the game there. And the last video, Matt, is a little bit more of the battle system.
Let's have a look at this.
Back to the start.
I'm just loading. Right, back to the start. Ready when you are.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1, go.
This is from IGN.com by the looks of it.
Yeah, it is. I downloaded it off their YouTube channel.
So here's
So
the
this
battle
is the-
system. It definitely looks better one-on-one, doesn't it?
It does look better like this, zoomed in.
Like-
And the characters are a lot more defined here. You've got some
very interesting characters there, like a massive orc type thing.
Is this the character that we thought was a little bit like Kiryu?
Yes, it looks very much like him.
Looks like they removed the tattoo from his back for some reason.
Yeah, the mocap looks better here.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So this must have been a little bit further down than we saw, I would have thought.
Some
It
throws.
looks proper. Yeah, it looks proper good now. I'd have been impressed with this. Well, not impressed, but I would have been more happy.
Yeah, it looks far better here, doesn't it?
Some good weapon combat.
Nice blocking there, throw.
Ooh, that was cool. Yeah, I really like the look of this now. Unless it just goes a bit tits up when there's too many characters.
Possibly.
But even the little boy here has got some good martial arts moves. And the little girl that we saw from Bailu.
The single man battles here are really good. They look much better than I think the multi-man do. Yeah, player versus player, so there was a counter elbow assault in that.
Yeah, and the actual now the hit detection's there, isn't
Yeah.
it? You can see it's almost a bit Shenmue Virtua Fighter system looking to me.
Yeah, very much looks that way, doesn't it? Oh, nice throw there.
Throw moves. So they actually had throw moves as well.
Bit of sword play.
Looks a bit like the depths of Kowloon, this sort
It does,
of area,
doesn't it? Like one of the fighting arenas. Got team versus team battles. Yeah, which I know they talked about.
Oh, look, he's blocking.
It does still struggle when there's multi-battles here, multi-man battles, but it's not as bad as those first images we looked at.
One character just walked through someone then. It looked a bit strange, but I suppose that's to be expected.
Yeah.
There's so many characters on screen. That big guy's a bit weird looking,
Yeah, he is,
isn't
isn't he? Departure from realism, for sure.
he? Yeah. Ogre looking, I don't know. But yeah, for the most part, the battle system
It looks better
doesn't
here,
look
doesn't
too
it?
bad. Yeah, it looks like they've definitely improved it. There's the Kiryu guy there on
Yeah.
the far right. So yeah, very good, Matt.
Looks definitely better there than that original shots we looked at with the battle
I don't
system.
think I would have minded it too much if it came out plain and looking a bit like that. It looks much better than what they showed off anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree, actually. But man, that 12-minute trailer with the CG stuff in it, that's the one, isn't it? That's the one where we're like, holy shit.
Yeah, definitely. And over on our Shenmue Dojo media site here, which we'll put a link to, there is some extensive screenshots if you want to have a quick breeze through these, Matt.
Let's get the link up. I've nicked
Click
some
the
of
link up
these
there. I
already.
think there was 77 images as there. Matt will put them on the screen at the same time.
I've nicked quite a few of them, so I won't put them all up, but I'll put a selection of these up. But do you
So
know?
if you click the first one and we'll breeze through them with the right area.
Yeah, so that's. Have you got it up?
Yeah.
So that's like Hong Kong, isn't it?
Yeah, Aberdeen. Just quickly go through them. So Manmo Temple's in here,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Bit of the battle
and
system.
Battle system. Keep flicking through these. Buzz stop. It looks like Yokosuka to me.
Dude, it does a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, because of that wall.
You got
Very
a
Japan. So
mini map there. Another sort of in-game shot with some fighting going on.
yeah, this is an NPC.
Another NPC.
Looks a bit like the homeless guy actually. And then these NPC here I've recognised from Shenmue 2.
And then Next one looks like Hong Kong again. Now this is where I think it suffers. I'm just on this image
graphically,
here.
it doesn't look
Graphically, it
great,
suffered
does
a
it?
bit. I can see what they're doing. There's lots of NPCs around and things like that. So it's maintaining that Shenmue feel, but you can see it's a step back in graphical presentation. But we know
The
why.
next one with the fountain, Matt, and the cranes in the background, I think he said something like they were planning to keep building. So I wonder if the cranes are there to like say stuff's being worked on in the background. Guilin, this looks a bit like Langouchan, the shops there.
It does, doesn't it? Spider
big
tree.
Is that the spider tree, yeah?
Or a spider tree, yeah.
Yep. And then path through bamboo trees, quite nice.
Got a temple here.
Ooh, that's nice. That looks like something I've seen before, like Forbidden City-esque, perhaps.
And then here we are. We've got some arcade machines. Which I mentioned as well. So they were obviously going to make a appearance. Then you're back into Hong Kong with the cranes in the background.
Flip through these a little bit. You've got a logo, or what looks like an intro. And then you've got the big ship, the Genpu Maru kind of looking ship.
Different colour, majorly, isn't it? It's like a
bit,
complete departure from the dull colour of it. It's very colourful, actually. Like, not to say Shenmue 2 isn't colourful, but this is very bright, isn't it?
And then interesting one next, Matt. Rio with his bag in Hong Kong.
Do you know what, though? This looks more like a Shenmue 2 image.
It does, doesn't it? But it looks
better.
Worse, doesn't it? It
looks better than what they've shown previously, but worse than Shenmue 2.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it looks like maybe the game starts with a bit of a cutscene of Rio arriving in Hong Kong.
Maybe, and then
goes from there.
And we've got a duplicate.
They've got a couple of dupes here we might have to get rid of.
Yeah.
Gambling, there's one of Gambling 28.
Yeah.
Dice game.
Big or small by the looks of it. Another fighting one.
I don't know why we've got so many duplicates.
Maybe we got carried away one day. A bit more fighting.
Then we got some nice images actually of like the big Chinese sort of gate in the distance.
Yeah, that's very Hong Kong, isn't it?
Yeah, Lucky Charm Taylor I've just seen on one of the ones next to that sign. And then this guy, actually, I think you pointed out, he's the guy that's at the Guang Martial Arts School.
Yes, yeah.
In the purpley robe. Some more gambling a little bit later.
Yeah, so you can see it in action.
You've got a guy that looks a bit like Janmin, or at least he's doing these
he does,
martial arts moves. Yeah.
I think got a few. We'll have to look
at
these.
There's one of Ren there.
Ren. I don't like that model.
No. Something's up with the face there, isn't it?
You got an interior of a shop. Vending machines. And then you got
that kid in Bailu.
Yep. Do you know what?
Looks nice, the Bailu stuff.
It does. The Guilin Bailu stuff. It looks far more what I think Shenmue 3 could have looked like in terms of the presentation of the village.
Yeah. And then we've got a few more dupes. 65 is the next kind of new image. It looks like the old Warehouse District-ish kind of. So I don't know if...
And then we sort of wander down a bit.
Images.
There's like a CG image of Hong Kong. And you got some of the website images here with the closed beta. I think I put these up actually. I know Jibby grabbed a few of these.
Oh, this is you, yeah, probably. You've got the Aberdeen map. That was one of them as well, which is quite cool to see. And then you've got a map. I don't know if this is just a texture, but it looks like the whole of the bloody continent.
Got some of the shots taken from one of the events on screen. And that's it.
Yeah, so pretty fleshed out, to be fair, considering.
I'll put a few of these up so people can see them. But yeah, just go onto the media link and have a look, because it tells a very interesting story. Yeah,
for sure, man. Something interesting I found, Matt. So this is funny. This was from a Chinese forum.
Yeah.
Someone had picked up on that CG trailer.
Mm-hmm.
There's the prophecy on screen, apparently. But it's been translated from Japanese to Chinese, and then from Chinese to English. So, you know how we were comparing all the prophecies?
Oh, yeah.
Have a listen to this one.
Go on.
Dragon's veins can lead to great chaos in nature. The veins of dragons stabilize dragons and phoenix by a pair of mirrors. These two mirrors are sealed in the dragon's hole. Hundreds of months ago, when a rising frequency was in the earthquake, it seems to be a sign of the destruction of the royal dynasty. The power of a demon looking for a dragon. entering the dragon's hole and stealing the dragon mirror. Dragon God, wake up from his deep sleep. He shook the earth and brought disaster to the world. Smashed the flood of the earth and the great river. It shows that the dynasty will soon end frequently. Then the emperor asked to control the power of Phoenix. 3 saints from ancient times. The holy legend Phoenix descends to heaven and flies with him. The calm wind brought to appease the anger of the dragon god. The dragon and Phoenix mirrors were set up, tampered again on the seal, and the world has thus regained its perfect peace.
So that's tied in. I mean, it's a random ass prophecy, but that ties in a bit with what Master Chen says around you need the 2 mirrors to release Qi Yo. So
this
the
is like
mirrors
the
are the
demon
keys.
god to appease the demon god
Yeah.
who's like Qi Yo and whatever.
That it's random.
It is random.
And I do think it's leaning very much towards the magical side of it. But those last little bits, the last sort of 3-4 lines, that's very similar to a lot of the other prophecies, isn't it? And it does come into line with the dragon and the phoenix clashing and being intertwined, doesn't it?
Yeah, just hear the music, can't you? Meh, 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 meh. Meh, meh, meh. And the world has thus regained its perfect peace.
Doesn't quite fit, does it?
Doesn't really, but it's quite amusing. Right, Matt. So we've come to the tail end of the show now. We're going to have a little break. Your second pick is Shenmue 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, welcome back. That was Shenmue 08 from Shenmue Online OST. And we're going to end the show here, Matt, with Terry's quiz for you.
Oh, yes.
You forgot about
Here we
this.
go.
So a nice Christmas quiz.
I did forget about this. Shit.
Did you know that you can get involved in Radio Sega's Winterfest? Jump into our friendly chat room over at radiose.ga/discord. Use hashtag RSWinterfest on social media and keep it locked to Winterfest all weekend long.
So actually, it's designed in a way I think I can send you this link.
Oh,
You
yeah.
should be able to fill it in at the same time. So I'll read the questions out anyway, but you can fill them in.
Okay.
And let me get the answers up because there's a couple of questions that are a little bit confusing at first glance, but make sense actually when I see the answers. So I've got them up. Okay. So yeah, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
And this quiz is available, guys. We can link this, although we're going to give you the answers, so it's probably not. But if you want to sample this, pause the show, have a go at the quiz, and then come back and have a listen to how Matt got on. And that quiz link will be in the description below, right?
Yeah.
So question 1. This is for 3 points now, and there's 3 different answers for this one question. So what are the words on the wall at the top of the Big Ox building? What do they mean? So this is something I've seen recently. I think it's graffiti at the very top of the Yellowheads. And I think, actually, remember when we were doing that running around as Yu Suzuki and on the Game Jam beta, there was a rooftop thing that we'd loaded, wasn't there? As one of the things. And you can see the graffiti up close there.
Let's have a look. I'm just trying to think. Top of the Big Ox building. Trying to think about this now.
So apparently, each of these is there. So it's going to be Hong Kong government, and then it's either cannot take care, do not want to take care, or are afraid to take care. And then UK government cannot take care, do not want to take care. So each of these, Chinese government's another as well.
Right, I'm going to go
So
Hong
there's an
Kong
order to
government
this.
do not want to take care. UK government... Oh, actually,
Tricky,
no.
isn't it? It's hard, isn't it?
I'm going to go China do not want to take care. Hong Kong government afraid to take care. And UK government cannot take care.
So Hong Kong cannot, UK do not, and Chinese...
Hong Kong afraid. I changed my mind. Hong Kong afraid to take care. UK government cannot take care, and Chinese government do not want to take care.
Okie dokie. And then we get into some easy stuff now. So when is Rio's birthday?
November 29th.
29 November. And there's multiple ways of doing this. I think he pretty much covered them all. So
okay, I'll find that out.
So you just spelled November right, which let me just double check. Novemer. It's the 3 E's in November. No. Okay. November. Okay, I got it. I think. Question 3. In December, what date will Santa Maeno begin to appear in Debuta? Tough one, isn't it?
That hard one. It's a hard one.
Terry, what are you doing?
Just
have a guess. So there's how many days in December? There's 31, right?
Yeah, he's got to turn up before Christmas.
He's got to turn up before Christmas. At least you'd have thought.
I'm going 10 days, December 15th.
Okay. What did Santa Maeno do before he retires?
I know this one.
Yeah.
It's a marathon runner.
Good stuff. I think you're right on that. That is like, I think that's in Sukapass as well, actually. If you look him up on Sukapass, it mentions that. It may mention it in the game, I don't know. I don't know what question we're on, but where would Shenmue Online, very fitting, be released according to the original announcement?
Oh, we've just been talking about that. So Korea and China.
Yep, so you can tick 2, Korea and China. In Shenmue Online, players can join one of 3 clans led by 3 main Shenmue characters. Which ones are not one of these clans? So you've got Shenhua, Shuing, and Ren, and Rio. So which one of those 4 is not one of the clans? We did kind of mention this as well, Matt, so you should get that.
Yeah, it's Rio. He's not part of a clan.
He's not part of the clans. Good stuff. How much is the maximum bet Rio can make in big or small, in Shenmue 2?
Ooh.
The maximum.
It's over 500, I know that. I'm just torn between 1,000 and 1,200.
1,200 sounds weird to me. I'm not checking the answers, but let me just double check. I'll let you decide. You're going 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay, how much could Rio earn with Dalin Hong when he moves each crate? So this is the value of each crate.
Each crate, so it's 10 per crate.
Okay.
I've just put 10 in.
Yeah, and then we're into the easy section now. Quotes from the games and the anime. So, the following questions are about which of the Shenmue characters say the sentence in either the Shenmue games or the anime. So, first, friends will be there for you even after parents die. So treasure your friends. Who says that?
I think it's a wow.
Yeah, without even giving you the options. Which character said the following sentence? It'll be years before you can stand in my way. You've got Hanhui, Master Baihu, Donyu, or Huing Ren, and these are potentially could be anime quotes because I don't remember that in the game.
I'm really torn here. I think between Donyu and Ren. I'm going to go Ren for some reason.
Yeah. Which character said the following sentence? So, this is the famous Ryo Hazuki. Oh, how sad. I think this is an anime quote. So it's a slight variation on what happens in the game.
I'm going to go Harry Thompson on that one.
Okay. I better put your answer so I can see your score. Which character said the following sentence? Watch where you are going, punk. You punk. Watch where you're going, you punk.
Joy.
Yeah, that one, Joy. What are you thinking? You're sleeping on the sofa. That's an easy one.
Zhuing.
Yeah. There's a game that's taking Bailu by storm right now. Want to play? Who says that? It's tricky, actually.
That's it's not Zhenwei. Shenhua. It's Face Off.
She says it, doesn't she? Yeah, when you talk to her. Yeah. The options, to be honest, I wouldn't have known the other ones. Xian Wei, is that the girl?
Yeah, that's the girl. Lin
Wei
is
Zhen.
one of the little girls that Rio speaks to. And the last one, I
Yang.
can't remember who he is.
You should not waste your life on revenge.
That is Master Chen.
Yeah. I was looking at the Chinese dress. I thought it would look good on Master Tao.
Fang Mei.
It's got to be Fang Mei's birthday, I reckon that, right?
Yeah.
Landy, fight me. I will avenge my father. Very easy.
Now, this is actually one of Corey's best lines out of the whole series. Actually, you feel it when he says it, and it's Rio.
Yeah. So, view your score. It says you got 16 out of 20, Matt. Is that the same for you? Or did I mess up?
No, that's right.
16 out of 20. So, let's have a look at the answers you got wrong. So, you got the words on the wall wrong. Well, you got the Hong Kong government one right.
I just got the other two mixed
up. So the
other
two should have been the other way around. So UK should have been do not want to take care and Chinese cannot take care, which is interesting. When's Rio's birthday? I put that wrong for some reason.
It's November. It is November 29th. It's just I think it's got whole birthday, whereas I just put the day. So it is correct.
Oh, I should have told you that. Yeah, I should have said his date of birth.
Oh, right. So yeah, that's we'll take it as a yes.
We'll take it as a yes, yeah, because that was technically it is his birthday. So that's 17 out of...
It says it's wrong for Santa Maeno to turn up in Dobuita December 15th. I put December 15th written, and it's correct answer is 15th or 15th written, not December. Well, damn it, that's right!
That is right for you, yeah. I did put 15th in that box that says right, so
that's 18.
That's right. So what did we mess up then? So that's 18. So you got the Harry Thompson one wrong. That should have been Goro.
So that's wrong.
And what was the other one then? Because everything else is right.
It must be it must be 17 then, with the two here. So yeah, 17 out of 20, I think.
Well, you would have got 18, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, you would have got 18. That. You would have just got... Oh, no, you did get 17, actually, because you got the two. The UK government was one, the Chinese government was another, and the Harry Thompson. Yeah, fair enough.
I'm quite pleased with that.
Yeah, especially that first question was like, I can't imagine anyone knowing that off the top of their head, so that was more of like a guess question.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that.
Good going there, Matt, and thanks
nice
again,
quiz, Terry,
for that. Yeah, if you want to do that again, I'll put that in the show notes. Right then, Matt.
Damn.
I've got a surprise for you. So we're going to have one final break before I have a fun surprise for the listeners that have stuck around. So firstly, this is a new piece of music from Survival Spheres, and it's called The Day It Thundered. Okay, welcome back. That was The Day It Thundered from Survival Spheres. Check out the cool YouTube channel there. A lot of like atmospheric background music, mostly Resident Evil, but he has got a slew of Shenmue releases that we are also putting together into a little playlist for Sukapass. And now, Matt, for one night only, I'm going to resurrect Jim's Poetry Corner.
Oh, here we go.
So now we're feeling a bit festive, in the mood. This song is Rio's Last Christmas. Last Christmas, my world fell apart, and the very next day, Landy got away. And this year, despite all my fears, I'm meeting with someone special. Last Christmas, I left for Hong Kong, but the very next day, Landy got away. And this year, to save Shenfua's deer, I'm heading to Bailu Village, oh. Boat ridden to land with Shan. I keep my distance, but you still catch my eye and tell me, Shenfua, don't you recognize me? Well, it was a dream, so it doesn't surprise me. In the stone pit, we hurried up and entered with a note saying, go with the one who holds the phoenix. And now I know what the prophecy means, but if you face me now, I know you'd say it again. Last Christmas, my world fell apart, and the very next day, Landy got away. This year, to save Shenfua's tears, we're heading to somewhere special. That breakfast spoke with an old fart, but the very next day, yeah, Santa's away. This pier was somewhere quite near. It's full of cormorant fishes, oh. Fancy room, friends with wondering eyes. I'm hiding from you and your chest of nice. My God, I thought you were someone to rely on. Me, I guess I was the phoenix to spy on. A face of another with a fire in her heart. One man undercover, but you tore us apart. Oh, now I found the out, son, you'll never fool me again. Last Christmas, my world fell apart, and the very next day, Landy got away. This mirror to save Shenfua's rear, I'll give it to busty lady. Fast thinking, I gave you my part, but the very next day they still got away this year. Despite all my fears, we're heading to the Cliff Temple. A face of another with a fire in her heart. One man undercover tried to tear us apart. Maybe next year. We're praying to you, Sue. We're praying to you, Suzuki. How long do we have to wait?
Well played.
Hey.
You did well with that.
There we go, man. Thank you very much.
Very well with that, considering you worked that out today.
Worked that out today.
You did very well with that.
Practiced maybe like 5 or 6 times through. He's got really hard timings with some of the fucking
words. Bloody hell, doesn't it?
Well, hopefully you enjoy that, guys. So that's it. Thank you for listening to season 2 of the show.
Jesus.
Come to the end of another year, another Christmas special. But we'll be back again in the new year with a season 3, Matt.
We will. It's gone quick, hasn't it? Christ. When you think back to us doing the anime shows, weekly shows and interviews and everything else, I think we've done, 30 odd shows this year?
Crazy, isn't it? It must be easily, because the anime was 13.
Yeah.
You did maybe like 4 or 5 interviews, and the mainline shows themselves, it's nuts, really.
Absolutely bonkers. If you include all the video content and everything.
Yeah, dude.
I reckon we're averaging a video a week or some sort of content a week this year.
We must be mad. Averaging,
yeah. Absolutely mad when you think about it, looking back.
Which is good going, Matt. Congratulations for all the hard work you've done this year.
And yourself, because it's been a busy old year.
Crazy. Shenmue World issue 2 was this year as well.
Yeah. Christ, it's a year or 2 halves, Shenmue, this year. We'll talk about that separately, I'm sure.
And what does the future hold? I don't know.
Shenmue 4, hopefully.
Hopefully. I don't know when. What's the next game show?
Oh, bloody hell. God, you'd be talking... If there's any PlayStation showcases or anything.
I know he's doing Monaco this year, isn't he? Magic Monaco, but I think would we have heard that Yu Suzuki's in attendance if he was going to be? I don't know.
I mean, I've booked the weekend off for it on the off chance that he does get announced. I've got no insider information or anything of the sort, but I've booked it off just on the off chance, and then if not, then I won't take the leave.
Fair enough. Yeah, you never know, man. Shenmue Online could get announced.
Again.
Being released. Yeah, announced again. Shenmue Online 2. I think Chibi did something like that, didn't he? There's an April Fool's joke.
He did.
Good stuff, guys. Well, we're going to end with another piece of music from the OST of Shenmue Online. Quite a nice one, actually. Shenmue 09. Again, could this be featured in a Shenmue 4 at some point? But yeah, we'll see you again in the new year, guys. So check out the Discord, the forums, of course, all the Twitter stuff that's going on there. We're going to post news out. We'll pump news out even on the Discord, actually, as soon as we hear anything. If we are likely to hear anything, we'll let you guys know first. YouTube, of course, we've got videos, the video counterpart to this. And if you're listening to us on Radio Sega, thanks very much. And again, I would have expected 3 people to have replied by now, but if there hasn't been, and you're still listening, still tuned in, the surname of Nozomi, if you want to just say that in the comments on Discord, Radio Sega, and we've got 3 Shenmue pins to give away from the Sega Shop Europe. So if you want to get in on that giveaway, yeah, do so right now. So thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Have a good Christmas, everyone. Take care.
Ah, look at the time.